Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Technologist Forum. I'm your host, James Hicks from Hicks New Media. And on this show, we dive into people, platforms, tools, and technologies that are making positive strides within the technology sector today. Today, my guest is Mr. Champ Bennett. Champ, co-founder and CEO of Capsule. Capsule is a AI-powered platform that is just jam-packed full of resources for today's digital content creating ecosystem. I want to talk to Champ about why Capsule, talk about what makes Capsule different than a lot of the other platforms out there, because that really, I think, is their value proposition, and get into what's today, what's maybe tomorrow, and some things that are coming down the road. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this guy right here, Champ Bennett, is in the building. How are you, sir?
Good, man. You have the most amazing setup ever. The intro is great.
Thank you,
Camera looks
man.
great. Do you have
It's all smoke
multiple
and mirrors.
cameras?
It's all smoke
Y
and mirrors, man.
Did I see 2 camera did you just do a camera switch just there?
There are a handful of cameras
Wow.
in the Hicks New Media studio. I will put it that way.
Oh,
But yeah,
yeah.
we got it going on,
Aspirational.
man. Thank you, brother.
Aspirational. Looking good. I'm
Thank you,
excited to
sir.
be here, man.
Listen, I want to get into this because, and I specifically wanted to. So this is pre-recorded. I specifically want to get into this because I want to integrate some usage of Capsule as I push this out to the channel. So
Oh,
first of
cool.
all, let's again raise above the noise and let's get that 35,000 foot level though. Who you are and what Capsule really is.
Yeah. Oh, man. 35,000 for version. Okay, well, who am I? I am a engineer, wannabe musician, wannabe artist, designer, product person that is just endlessly curious about things. I first part of my career was even before that. I mean, I grew up playing music. My aunt got me a set of drums when I was 4 years old. Obsessed with music, obsessed with just I was a pretty creative kid and like tearing things apart from keyboards. I would like play around in my bedroom with the keyboards and tear them apart and figure out how they worked, and then I would put them back together and play them. And so I had this like weird mind for creating things, but then also like tearing things apart and understanding how they worked. And that really, I mean, that was when I was 6 years old, but my entire career has been that. Really kind of sat at the intersection of creativity and technology. And
Mm,
I guess, right out of school, I started doing apps and websites for a couple of agencies, and then moved to New York City and became an engineer at a large digital agency in New York. Spent 10 years there working on some really big apps and websites for some of the biggest brands in the world, like Google, Microsoft, and Samsung, and yeah, countless big brands.
love it.
Then became a startup founder. It was like I spent 10 years building all these things for other people, and it's like, "Man, I could probably do this for myself, and maybe it'll work out a lot better." It sounds easier than it actually is. You're like, "Oh, this could be easy." Get into it. Being a founder is really hard. It's one thing to have an idea, it's another thing to realize it and then, eliminate the risks one by one until it
Mhm.
finally becomes something. Um but yeah, I spent the last 10 years as a startup founder. I've built 3 companies, and again, kinda going back to the 6-year-old version of myself, my interest is as a founder is also at the intersection of technology and creativity. I've always been obsessed with the idea of using technology to empower individuals to create in ways that maybe they couldn't before, or to accelerate their creative process. And like many others my age back in the probably mid 90s, late 90s, discovering Photoshop for the first time was a
Man, yes.
mind-blowing experience, right? And so I just love building things and giving tools to people that they can have that same experience. And that's really the my last 10 years as a founder, and certainly a big part of why we started Capsule.
I love that. I especially like your intersection of creativity and technology because I use something similar to that. I call myself Hicks New Media is at the intersection of business and technology, right?
Mm,
Because a lot of tools, processes, modes, operations, things of that really balance across business and technology, especially new technology, especially in this new generative AI world that we're in
Oh
right
yeah.
now. So I'm not going to steal your part. I'm not going to steal it and say creativity and technology. I'm gonna stick with my business and technology, but that's pretty cool stuff, though, man. Um, Let me ask you about Capsule, right?
Yeah.
And I can say again, third person removed, someone external to the company, generative AI tool for creating micro content, turning long form content into short form content, and publishing and putting it out there on various social media platforms. Right. That's the elevator pitch that I would say someone looking to do something. It's much deeper than that. Right. And again, I say you rise above the noise because you're consciously focused on ensuring that there's collaboration amongst folks as you're building assets, as you're creating content. It's not just a one person shop mentality that you've built Capsule on. But so expand on my definition of again a long form to short form content generation platform. Expand on a little bit of what Capsule is for other folks.
Well, I'll start with the 3 reasons why we decided to build this tool in a world where there are so many video tools. The first reason is we went out and we just talked to hundreds of teams, literally hundreds of teams at larger companies, right? And what we heard was video is way too hard for us to do on our own. We're not talking about video professionals, people who know Premiere and Photoshop or Premiere and After Effects, right? That's one thing. It's everyone else in the organization. It's the marketing team. It's occasionally the sales team. It's occasionally the comms team, the PR team, the HR team. I'm seeing every day now, every CEO in the world is making videos for Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram. And so this whole wave of kind of like consumer videos now bled into our daily lives and at work. And video has become a primary form of communication, but it is extraordinarily complex for people that didn't, go to school for it or haven't spent their careers working on it. And so that was reason number one that we heard why video is so difficult. It's just too hard. The programs are too hard for us to learn. The second thing that we heard when we talked to large teams, again, not talking about kind of the prosumer and consumer side of video, but just the team side. The second one is if you work for a big company, those companies really care about brand. They care about how things look. And, Figma and Canva have really solved this brand consistency problem in the 2D design world. So you can go on Figma as a brand new designer at a company and start pulling components that have been built by the brand design team and start making stuff on your first day on the job. And it's going to look right. It's going to look consistent. And when I say that, I mean the right fonts, the right colors, the right logos, but even more than that, how things are, positioned against each other, how they're laid out, and the stories that you can tell with it, right? And so there is not a video equivalent for that right now.
Hmm.
So it's really difficult for large organizations to create video in a way that's super consistent. Now there are professional grade solutions for that. There's these things called Mogurts that you can use in After Effects. Almost no one knows how they work because they're
Right.
very
Right.
complex. But there wasn't really a version of that for video. So that was the second reason. How do we create video that's on brand across tens of thousands of people potentially? It's a very, very hard problem. And then the third one was what you kind of touched on, collaboration. Um, almost everything that we do in the business world today is collaborative. A lot of it's
Hmm.
real time collaborative. We've got docs. You mentioned your background is coming from like the content side. Everything that we do is collaborative. Docs, design, even programming is kind of moving more collaborative in real time. And so on the video side, that just didn't really exist. And mostly the reason was not because the technology wasn't there. It was because so many of the video tools that are good today are apps. They're native apps, and they don't work great for collaboration. They're hard to get people to install. They are difficult to onboard, and apps generally are harder to kind of build real time collaboration into relative to what you can do on the web. And so we made a pretty difficult decision from an infrastructure perspective to say, how do we go solve video in the browser once and for all? Kind of like what, Figma did for 2D design. Everyone thought they were crazy. No designer wants to do design inside a browser. That's
Right,
insane, right?
right.
And but the collaborative piece of it really unlocked a whole lot. And so we have a lot to build on the collaborative side. Like candidly, like there's still a lot to do. But the fundamental part was how do we just get it in the browser? Because we know the
Yeah.
browser is going to unlock that, right? So yeah.
But so what I like is that you're dropping names right now, right? You're talking about the other platforms that are out there doing similar functions, but that the fact that Capsule consciously was out there to almost bring down that larger scale, that corporate, that brand agency type of functionality and capability to the smaller teams.
Yeah.
We as entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, digital content creators, whatever we want to call ourselves, we are more effective if we do collaborate. We are more effective if we do utilize a team and utilize other forces around us. Because if I'm in the room and I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room, brother. Right, right. So I need to have someone to be able to look at it from another
Yeah.
perspective and be able to engage, collaborate, interject, and things of that nature. That's true. You just the scale that you have available to you by hosting and being part of the web as opposed to being a native app, being something that's locally downloaded. That, in my mind, takes away that tribe, not that tribal knowledge, but that water cooler thing, right? Where I just have all the assets local to me and no one else has
Yes.
access to them. But this is that document repository. This is that central um, this is that central collection of all the assets and all the information. And
Yeah.
that right there, I don't think anyone else that I can think of is effectively doing it as good as Capsule. Right.
Dang.
Everyone else again, the can. Okay, we're going to drop names, right? The Canvas of the world and
Yeah.
the scripts of the world, even Opus Clip, which I I work with as well. I mean, those organizations and those platforms really are again geared towards the individual taking that long form, collapsing it, and making it into multiple smaller clips. But there's no real conversation about James and Champ and all these other folks working together on an end product. That's pretty cool. That is hard, man. Kudos to you
Yeah.
and shouts out to you for going that route day one.
Yeah. Thanks. I mean, weirdly, we're late to the game, but sometimes being late to the game is good. You get to see all the problems that everyone has, right? So
iPhone
we
wasn't the
can go
first
out.
smartphone, man. Hey, right
That's
again.
right.
I told you I
iPhone was
worked
the
for Apple
last
for 10 years,
investor.
right?
That's exactly the idea. And so we've had this advantage of being able to watch all of these. And by the way, every tool you mentioned there, I have massive respect for. A lot of them innovated and did things that really changed the game for video. But they also got a lot of things wrong. And we have the luxury of going and talking to users and asking them, what doesn't work about this for you? And then being able having the luxury of being able to start from the beginning
Yeah,
and say, what would this look like if we were to really truly try to solve this problem once and for all?
man, that's good stuff. I've had the pleasure of being, I don't know, I'm not going to say day zero, maybe day one and a half of being integrated or using Capsule and seeing some of the hard. It's been tough at the beginning. Now, listen, it was right. Again, I was there days, like I say, day one and a half, man,
Yeah,
and
you were
it was
early.
it was still
You
a whiteboard platform. But today, what you got? So let's talk again about the way that the platform is set up, how it's built towards collaboration, built towards teams, and what can folks do? What can they expect when they log in or become a user of Capsule?
well, what you experienced is very real, and I appreciate, like, the raw feedback of it
I
because
gave you some I gave y'all some feedback too, brother. I was like, man, come on, y'all got to fix
there was a lot to fix, and there is a lot to fix. It's a never-ending
it. Yeah.
cycle in trying to make great products. The, It's interesting because we've been at it almost 3 years now, which feels like
Wow.
really forever. But the core infrastructure was the really hard part. So we spent the majority of our time just trying to ask ourselves, if you were to build a world-class kind of native style video editing app, but do it in the browser, what would it take? What
Mm,
kind of technology hurdles would you have to solve? Turns out there were a lot of them, and it took us way longer than we thought, and we're still not done. I mean, there's a lot more to go. But, you know, so so interestingly enough, the application layer, just the UI, the part that you interact with and touch every day when you're using it, that was the easy part. And we've been just ripping now that we kind of figured out the core infrastructure parts. We've been ripping on the really fast on the UI and the feature side. And I think, you've probably seen this, right? I mean, I would guess even 2 months ago, the product was, like, probably half as useful as it is today, and
True.
I think 6 months from now, it's gonna be mind-blowingly good.
So along those routes, and I'll say it now because I forget. I'm an old man, right? I start forgetting things. So that's why I always blurt stuff out. But the render time and the process time has significantly gotten shorter, and
Yeah,
so more effective in that. So that I really like. To be honest with you, right? I'll put in a file, I'll put in a project, and the time to actually create that project or do the transcript is actually much shorter than it was days. And of course, that's continuing to iterate, and that's always going to improve. And depending on where your capacity is, if you're in Google or Amazon or wherever, you spin up the instances, whatever. We can go into those zeros and ones as well, but but the way that
we
you
have a
you nav
very, very secret, uh, architecture that doesn't involve any of that, so we can't go too deep into that, but
hold on, is that let me stop recording
yeah.
right quick and let's get into that. All right, but okay, so that's
Yeah,
interesting enough to know as well, because again, from a layman perspective and typically from a consumer perspective, you think 70 to 80% of the hybrid public cloud world of SaaS platforms run either in Azure, Google, or Amazon. But the fact that you say you don't, that's actually a very interesting thing, and it also obviously was also a conscious conversation, a conscious decision. But again, so when those platforms and when those environments have outages, which they do, folks, listen, not even five nines of availability in those platforms. So when your website goes down because it's hosted in either an Amazon or Google or Microsoft, don't blame the end customer. Don't blame the company. It's
yeah,
the way that
it
the public
happens,
cloud
man,
is
it happens.
designed, man. Yeah, it happens. That's you get what you pay for
Half the
sometimes,
internet goes out in those instances.
bruh. Right. So so let's do this. I guess I want to. You're all right if I do like a live demo.
Hell yeah, let's go. Yeah, I hope it works.
I know I'm probably gonna have everybody from project engineering check it out. You had to get a little drink there, right, just to make sure that this works out.
Hey, I'm nervous now. Oh my god, I'm drooling everywhere.
No worries, man. Listen, this is already easy. So I got a short
Nah, it's
bit of content that I loaded in. Again, quickly was able to separate the video, come up with the transcript. The transcript was pretty darn accurate right out of the gate. And I can go in here and edit this, correct? Right. So if they got
yeah.
some words wrong, so I can go in there and do that. Here's some secret sauce that I really like, though. Right, bringing up this menu, I can also integrate other objects, assets into
Mm.
this. What's the word that you use, right? So I call them
We
objects and
call them
assets.
we call them components, but,
Okay.
really what they are, I was a hu did you ever play Legos as a kid?
Yes, sir. I got
Okay.
Legos over. Listen, I got Legos over here, man. Don't let me stop this whole stream and shit.
Yeah, I
So
was obsessed with Legos, like many, I think, people that end up in tech. I think
yeah,
everyone's obsessed with Legos, and I still play Legos. But this menu and much of the product was inspired by Legos, right? I mean, the amazing thing about Legos is you get these, you take architecture and you abstract it down to its most basic core components, and you say, yeah, it's not, you don't get every single thing in the world, but you get these, I don't know, 24 pieces, and you can put them together and you can make unique things with them. And that's what we did in Capsule. Is like we looked and we said, when people make videos, n- they're not always starting from scratch. There's intros, there's outros, there's captions, there's lower thirds, there's little watermarks in the top right. There's, whatever. You see the list there, right? They're
yeah.
all there. And that's just the beginning. We got a bunch more stuff coming on the component side. But we said, let's just abstract that down and take the core building Lego blocks of video and just make that super easy. Because if you try to do that in any other tool, I mean, even some of the easiest tools out there, it's still really hard. And our idea was not only are we gonna break it down to these core components, but we're gonna make these components look really good, really
Yeah.
professional.
Yeah, this is
And
hot right here, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So let me ask
So,
this
yeah.
because one again, thinking of workflow and these Lego bits, these components, these pieces right here are cool, excellent, right? Being able to repeat it though, right? So I'm always looking at eliminating time and steps within a workflow. Can we save watermarks and call to actions and prompts into something like a brand kit to say every time I do a technologist form video, it's got these colors and it's got this logo and it looks this way. Every time I do a perspectives and focus session, it's got these colors, it's got this logo, that kind of thing. Is that something that Capsule has?
In about 3 weeks.
Come on, man. I didn't even okay, there we go.
Maybe 4. Um, I got a sneak peek at some of it today. It's gonna be awesome. That's the number 1 requested feature, right? It's like, we kinda put out the tool a little bit earlier than we probably should have if you
Mhm.
wanted it to be perfect, but mostly we just wanted to hear feedback, and feedback has been incredible, and actually, that particular bit of feedback, I just wanna be able to, create a theme or a brand theme or whatever, is the number 1 thing that people have asked for. So we've just moved that right up to the top of the list, and we are gonna rip that out really quickly, and it's looking good already.
That's cool. And that's it's a cool want, but again, from folks that are creating a lot of content, it's more
Yeah.
of a need because of the fact that again, eliminating steps, being more efficient in workflow. Right? If I'm working with a brand, working with an organization or company, I need to quickly be able to spin out that bit of information. So, yeah, it's cool and it's nice want, but at the end of the day, it's how business needs to happen. And I think the fact that you come from that agency world, you come from that New York City. I need it done when 2 days ago, not tomorrow,
Totally, yeah.
not today. I needed it 2 days ago. We got to be efficient, and we have to be able to scale our production. So that's cool that that's there. Um,
Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but there probably is a bit of that in
it's
me.
ingrained in your brain, and
Yeah,
that's what it
probably
is.
is, yeah.
That's why you can't sleep at night, right? You're always thinking. Well,
How'd you know that, by the way?
let me ask this because that's an interesting point as well. Man, I know I'm going all over the board. I've got my runner show, and I have all these questions I want to ask, but it's much more fun to just chop it
I
up
like
with
it,
you,
dude.
man.
This is
You,
great.
you know,
This is great.
if someone was using the platform, someone's using the platform, how can they actually reach out and say, "I've got an idea"? Feature requests, is there a public roadmap? Are there communities? Is there a Discord? Is there a Slack? Is there a way of getting in contact with the team? It's almost a loaded question because I know the answer, but again, rather hear it
Uh,
from the guy
I
himself.
I try to make myself as available as possible. If you like the tool and you're interested in it, then you can call me right now. We can put my phone number up on the screen if you want to. My email is champ@capsule.video. My Twitter handle is do you know champ. You can DM me there. You can put me out on LinkedIn. I did I lose you? Oh, no, there you are. Okay, shit, sorry. Hold on, now I can't hear you.
Oh, I would say I
Oh,
made sure that it was about you and not about me. So
oh,
when I
okay.
go off screen, don't worry about it.
Damn
It's
it.
all about.
It's like I've never done this before.
But I got to production, man. You know,
All right,
you
okay.
are the star of the show. A lot of times I will go off camera because it's not about me, it's about you. One thing though, I will say right here, I'm glad you told me what the new Twitter handle is because on your LinkedIn there's another Twitter ID.
Oh,
And
really?
I was
Mm,
like, yeah, and it was like that ain't Champ. But but
I'm dumped
I'm
at that.
glad.
But
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how long this scales already. It's been a bit overwhelming in the last couple of weeks since the launch, but, you know, I I wanna talk to everybody that wants this tool to exist because, you know, we build what customers want. It's that
yeah.
simple, right? So the more I talk, the better understanding we have, the more
Well,
it drives the roadmap.
we're not giving out the phone number, and we're not. I'm just.
Actually, if you sign up and you hit the little give feedback button in the app, which is another way that you can tell us what you want, my phone number is literally there. It's literally my phone number. You can call
Dude,
it, text
hold
it.
on. Let's do this. Let's see here. So if I go to feedback. See what happens here. Mm, It's not popping up anywhere, which is good. So
Oh, it didn't pop up? That's not
no,
good.
Well, there we go. There's the demo.
Oh, maybe because it's gonna be in the bottom right of your screen, which is cut off. Uh,
Let's
maybe
see. We
because of
go.
I'm not seeing the far right of your screen is cut off for me,
Oh
and
yeah. Okay.
that's where that would pop up in the bottom right. Do you see it?
No,
No.
I just see the word feedback there. When I click on feedback, it doesn't pop up. But that's all right. Again, I don't want your phone
No,
number out
even the
there, brother.
feedback is
Yeah, I don't want your phone number out
I'm
there.
checking
And
on my end now. Hold on. We're doing not only are we live testing the app, we are also
doing a little
live
QA testing, right? We're doing a little
Q&A
quality
QA.
quality assurance.
Yeah, I see it. I see
Okay.
it. Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know what's going on there.
Maybe I need to talk to
Uh,
someone about my access, right? Maybe I've
yeah.
been relegated to I don't know, just
Oh, what
troublemaker.
browser do you have? What browser is that?
Well, this week I'm using literally this week I'm using Chrome Beta.
Oh, well, that
Yeah.
should work.
Okay.
Chrome is definitely yeah, that's what I just tried it and it worked, but anyway,
Right. I'll
I
check it
don't
out.
know.
We'll see. But I clicked on the export. It's doing its thing now. So the assumption is that I've made all of my adjustments. I put in all of my prompts. I can now download it, and then I can essentially share that out to wherever I want. Workflow conversation and workflow discussion about this capability right here now. Will there eventually be direct posting to social media platforms as opposed to
Yeah,
having to download them?
definitely. Yeah, 100%. That'll be there. Not much
Cool.
else to say other than we just gotta build it.
No worries, no worries. I love again. Clicked on that plus button, so you can start adding in those different components and start building out the environment. So that is really cool right there. But in the words of Steve Jobs, there's one more thing.
Mm,
This could be it right here. This could be everything that you do, and you would be. I think you would be fine. I think you would actually excel, and you would exceed in terms of expectations of that normal everyday user. But you got something else out there, man. You've got this UGC component, whole nother application, whole nother piece
for
of
now.
code. Okay, so there we go. Let's get into
Yeah.
that. So talk about this other avenue of the capsule
Yeah.
dot video family.
This was the first product that we made actually.
Wow.
And the idea was really to make an MVP of the full product that we wanted to build, which is what we now have today, which we kind of called AI Studio for a while, but we've now just rebranded it to Capsule. That's the main application.
Okay.
But the core thesis that we started with was like, how do we just help people within companies create video content and make it really, really easy to do that? And so the MVP was more of a UGC video tool. And the idea was you could collect content from your customers, your employees, think like testimonial style
Mm-hmm.
content or,
Mm-hmm.
UGC style content. And then you could take that and you could lightly edit it. So it didn't have nearly the robust editing features that the product has today, but you could add like some music to it and you could add some graphics and lower third and intro and outro and just kind of real quick rough something into shape. And then you have a testimonial at the end and you're done. And that product actually did really well. In fact, for a while, we thought like maybe this maybe this is all we need to build, but it became really clear that, in talking to customers, and we had some really big customers, like huge logos using this tool, and, it became really clear in talking to them that that was like one tiny sliver of the
Mm.
challenge they were facing around video was, sourcing content, right? So that's like one, part of video is like, well, what do you start with? You got to have some footage to start with. Nobody wants to make videos just like stock video,
Truth.
right?
Yep.
You got
Yep.
to have what we're doing right now. We're recording some footage live, or maybe you recording some footage asynchronously, which is what the collection tool does, or maybe you've done a live broadcast somewhere and you've got footage that way, whatever. Like there's dozens, maybe AI generated something. I don't know. There's dozens of ways to get footage, but one way that we thought would be a good way to start would be just collecting these videos. But then our customers were like, this is great, but I want to like actually edit this together. I want to be able to cut words out. I want to be able to add titles. I want to be able to stitch videos together. And that was actually the insight that gave us the conviction that, wow, there's so many video tools out there, but it seems like for this cohort of people, none of them are working at all. Like
And
there are
isn't that
pieces
interesting?
of it that are working. Yeah, it is because a lot of people, when we started down the path of making a video editor, they were like, "Why? There's so many." Like, a lot
Yeah.
of, like, investors. I mean, we got a lot of, like, the space it's littered with,
It's crowded,
dead
right? Yeah,
companies.
yeah.
And it's crowded.
It's a little crowded.
And, I mean, I think there's still a lot to prove out there, but I think one thing that we've discovered just since the launch is how much, interest in a tool like this there is, because there's just so much pain point. There's so many pain points for people and businesses, creators who are trying to, just do something great, but do it fast. And you mentioned this as, like, in the very beginning before we started recording, your background is in content. And most people, just like you, who started in content or doing content, is all written, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's true, like every media organization as well, right? So they're all very article centric. It all starts with a written story. And so, that's a very common, background for a content marketer. And content marketers are now faced with the struggle of, like, being expected to be video professionals. And it's a big hurdle to go from someone who's just
Yeah.
writing blog posts all day to being a professional video creator. So Capsule's interface, which is very much structured like a document and obviously inspired by some other tools in the space, but kind of took it many steps further and said, what if we could take that interface and then make it so that you could do everything in that interface, from editing to post production to motion graphics to effects. And it's all there, just like very easily utilized within almost like a document style interface.
Folks, pay attention to what Champ is saying. He's using some specific words there that resonate with the industry, right? See, I'm not going to call him out. I'm not going to say anything. But again, think of what you have today in your toolkit, and think about, does it really meet the need? Maybe it's meeting the need 70%, 60%, maybe even high 80%. But just think again, not being first to market, but being able to step back and look at what's out there in the marketplace and being able to say, we can do this, we can fix this better. We've already listened to our customers, our investors, our use, everyone, and building this new piece or this existing piece and expanding on it. You've got a pretty good jump, I think, again, on what's expected and what's going to be needed. Now, let me ask you about this. Right now, they're splitting the two. You said that's actually going to be combined into one. Is there going to be separate subscription and pricing and tiers and things like that to utilize both sides of the house
No,
once they
it'll
become one?
No, it'll all be one package, and we think of them as very much aligned, right? Because it goes back to that, when you start a video project, what are you starting with? And so being able to, record live or collect videos from somebody else asynchronously
Yeah.
is a really great way to get started. Aside from just sitting here and recording solo by yourself, which plenty of people are doing, and you'll be able to do that in Capsule as well.
Mobile app.
Um, Probably not anytime soon. I think we would have a desktop version of the app,
Okay.
before we would go mobile app,
Okay.
because all our users are in front of their laptops all day. It's really, we're kinda like the anti-consumer app, a consumer video app, or the anti-professional video app.
I
It's for
like that.
everybody else.
There's nothing wrong with. I like that, actually. To be honest
Yeah,
with you, there you go. Stepping above
yeah.
the noise. I like that.
Trying to, yeah.
That's the differentiation right there. And there again, something typically that I talk about. So first of all, I appreciate you for going into that discussion, because I was curious about that, and I know that was a question that a lot of folks that I've positioned Capsule to as well have said. What's up with these two, this line of demarcation? Why are there two platforms? Um, Nothing wrong with, again, charging for what your value is, because I typically will say people pay attention to what they pay for.
Mm.
So if you're bringing that value and you're again looking at more of the collaboration piece, you're looking at the teams piece, you're looking at the just that overall creation process, that creative process of building something greater and something that doesn't look like everything else that's out there. That's where I'm trying to get to. Something that looks just not even just A, but something that's A plus, something that looks different than what's already out there. And again, you still have the ability to be flexible, make it your own, bring in that branding, bring in those elements and those components and all of that, and having that front of mind. as opposed to me having to go in, fire up Capsule, then fire up CapCut, and then fire up Final Cut, or right, and do all of those things in modules and separately. If I can do all that in one platform, I'm not saying that I'll pay anything, but but we pay attention to what we pay.
Well, it is
We'll
interesting.
pay for value. I will
It
say
is
that.
interesting. I mean, I've talked to so many people who are like, "I have 7 subscriptions in
Yeah,
order to make videos,"
yeah,
and they're all $20, $30 a piece
yeah.
a month or whatever it is, and that adds up, right? And so, I think if we can part of the vision of the tool is, yeah, at least to be able to do 90% of that stuff, within one place. And now again, it's never gonna we're not trying to displace Premiere or After Effects. I think that those tools are perfectly suited. I mean, they're old and bit they could be updated a bit, but they're perfectly suited for, like, the professionals use case. And, like, you're not gonna be making, like, a commercial for the Super Bowl on Capsule anytime soon,
I
right?
don't
But
know.
there's
I'm going to the Super Bowl this year, man.
okay, alright, well,
So,
that's
so
I
I'm
can't
gonna
wait to
be
see
out
your
there on the
Capsule Super Bowl
sideline
commercial.
with Usher while he's doing the halftime show, and just in case I might,
Okay,
I'm gonna be
that'd be
there,
great.
brother.
I mean, maybe that'll happen, that would be awesome. Maybe we'll make a commercial for the Super Bowl with Capsule, that'd be a great Super Bowl ad. But I think that, yeah, I mean, there's always a time and place for the kind of really polished, high-end,
Right,
high
right.
production value content. But increasingly, the stuff that's consuming our attention these days is this rapid fire, really, authentic, real people talking to each other, talking to the camera.
Yeah,
And, it's really great too because on the internet, for the past 20 years, most of our communication has been text-based. And
hmm,
then it kind of went with Instagram, it kinda moved into photos. And then now we're in this world, at least on the consumer side, where video is the predominant format, and it makes people feel a bit more human, and I think increases the level of dialogue and communication. You start to see the real side of people.
yeah,
And I think when that happens on the business side, it's going to be really great for communication. It's going to be really great for authenticity. I like to know people that I'm working with, and oftentimes that can help you close a deal. It can help you sell a product. It can help you recruit employees. It can help you share your vision with your team. Videos is just, to me, the ultimate format of the internet, and
agreed.
so being able to enable businesses to do that for the first time is a really exciting, thing for me and the company and the team.
I agree. I agree. What's next? Non-NDA stuff, obviously. We don't and
No, yeah.
don't say anything that's under wraps. But what's next? Because we got short, mid, and long term, right? And then in technology, long term could really be 8 months, not 5 years. But short term, you were talking about adding some additional functionality, um, like the brand kits and things like that. But I guess short and midterm for the platform. What's coming up next?
Short and mid is, brand ability first, and then, collaboration and team second. So, we've got some of the Teams features in today where, like, if you're an enterprise company and you've got, 30 people in your marketing org and they wanna be able to create video, but in a brand consistent way, we have that feature. It's for enterprise teams only, and, we enable you to create motion design systems to do that. So, we have some collaboration in there now. But increasingly, we want that collaboration to be more real time. We want it to be more project based. So imagine you're creating a video on your team and you've kind of place held all of the copy, but you want your copywriter to come in and polish things up. And maybe it's the marketer's job to then go in and resize all the assets. And Capsule has, in my opinion, humble opinion, the best auto resize feature out there, in the sense that you can create a video in one format, change the aspect ratio. Every single graphic within the design will resize. Works the same way responsive websites do. It's extremely powerful. We wrote it from the ground up. There's nothing out there like it. And um, so imagine that scenario where you're creating a video, and maybe your marketer needs to come in and they need to resize it for 6 different platforms, right? And maybe the director of marketing wants to look at it and review it and maybe have some feedback for you. So there's all of these collaborative flows that exist within teams and companies that are important, but way less important for like an individual creator like you or me who's just trying to, pump out a video here and there. And so that's the big unlock. And we have some stuff coming out. I don't want to give too much of a time frame, but stuff coming up on that side.
Love it. Love it. Champ, you're a good dude, right? You're a good dude, man. I appreciate your story. To be honest with you, and that's typically why I like to start with the story, because I loved hearing where you came from, what's driving you, kind of the what's in it for me part,
Mm,
right? And it's more about building something great as opposed to I want to start another company and I just want to make a ton of money and I want to go do that, right? The way that you started and way that you identified yourself and how the team is molded, that was the thing that is continuing to draw me to utilize the platform and things of that.
how
Like you
that?
just said a few minutes ago, that's going to be my first clip. Well, the first clip of this session out of Capsule. So
Hell yeah.
in about 2 hours, y'all, just keep an eye out for the on the channel, because that right there, I'm gonna drop that in the Capsule. And that's what Champ just said.
I hope we can do it in like 2 minutes. That would be my goal.
Well,
We
well,
had somebody tweet earlier today. They were like, I somebody told me about Capsule. I installed, I signed up, whatever.
yeah,
And I made my video in under 1 minute. And I was like, yes,
that's it.
that's the goal,
Okay,
man. It's like, how do we just make this so easy that anybody can do it in seconds? And yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. It's not, it's
we're getting
never going
there.
to be done, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk the dirty laundry just yet, but like I told you, I stream in 4K, man. I got some big file sizes. We need to talk a little bit about that right there. No, that's
We
coming,
could
but
talk about that. Yeah, no, we can like,
okay,
the I mean, if you want the technical answer, there's no technical limit to what the system can tolerate in the cloud. And that's really cool because for a lot of reasons, it's a challenging problem to solve.
yeah,
The technical limit, believe it or not, is actually on the front end and
mm,
the ability for the application to be responsive once we get past a certain file size. And so that's really the only issue to sort out. We've got a path to it. I think it'll be a couple weeks before we can unlock that. Maybe the next big challenge is nobody really wants to sit around waiting for a 4K 10
yeah,
gigabyte file to upload to the cloud before they start working on it. There are all kinds of advantages to that in the context of teams, right? Because once you upload that one 4K file once, your entire organization has
yes.
access to it. That's cool. However, it's still a little bit painful. We have some ideas of how to solve that too, that I'm really excited about. But that I probably won't talk about yet.
No worries, no worries, and that'll be the patent. That'll
Yeah.
be
Yeah,
the
exactly.
that'll be the Bennett patent right there, man. Listen, capsule.video, folks, is where it's at. I'm a user. I'm an advocate. I put some content through the platform. I've been vocal with the support team and with the product development team. They've been responsive. I said, listen, let's get Champ on and let's have a conversation, because I wanted my community to hear directly where you are today, like I say, where you're going in the future. And I like it selfishly, and I'm quite sure a lot of other folks will as well. I'll make sure to put all the links in the description of this video. I won't put your phone number. Yeah, dude, you got to take your phone number down, man. But
Well, if you're gonna upload it to YouTube, that'll probably not be a good idea, but
yeah,
I don't mind. I don't mind.
my
I like
goodness.
getting the feedback. I like getting the feedback.
I'm
It's
I'm
good.
gonna call you just one late night, right? When my Steelers are losing, just because I'm probably drinking or something and I'm upset. I'm just gonna call you because I know you're 3 hours ahead of me, and I'll just complain at you because I'm in a bad mood and my
Yeah.
Steelers are losing. But it's all right.
You can tell me all about your capsule problems as well.
I will. Well, those two, right? Okay. But I always talk about my sports analogies. So
But before we go, I do wanna say
yeah,
thank you, not just for having me on because this is great. I loved the just hanging out and talking, but also for really being part of the early process and being one of the very first users to jump into the tool. That meant the world to me, it meant the world to the team. Getting that feedback from you is as harsh and as critical as it may have been, is what we needed, right? We need that. And yeah, I hope one day, way down the road when we've got millions of capsule users, we can look back and say, yeah, James, man, he was like number 1 or number
back in the
2,
day, back in the day.
and and he really helped us get there. So A lot of gratitude from me and the team. Thank you.
I appreciate you, man. We're going to keep together. We're going to stay in touch, and we're going to keep building this together. Ladies and gentlemen,
Awesome.
that's Champ Bennett right there. We out.